Welcome back to The Explainer. Let me ask you a question right off the bat. Will we ever get tired of pitting incredible creatures against each other? I mean, all signs point to a massive, resounding no. Whether it's heavyweights stepping into an MMA octagon or classic cinema monsters like Freddy vs. Jason just throwing down on the silver screen, debating these hypothetical matchups, it's practically baked into our DNA. We absolutely love a good fight, and we love analyzing every single angle of it even more. Honestly, I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it really just says it all. Your dad versus anyone who touches the thermostat. It humorously points out that fighting, or at least fiercely debating who would win in a hypothetical clash, is just right at the core of human nature. I mean, from cosmic entities all the way down to domestic thermostat disputes, we fundamentally love to watch things clash and break down the odds. And that brings us to the absolutely mind-bending breakdown we are tackling today. What if Nyarlathotep fought Siren Head? Yeah, no, we are actually doing this. We're analyzing a hypothetical battle between a Lovecraftian cosmic horror of unimaginable power and a tall, noisy internet forest cryptid. So buckle up, because we're going to structure and break down this unbelievable, wildly lopsided bout from every single possible angle. Okay, let's dive into this. Round 1, Tale of the Tape. Look, the contrast here is just completely absurd. In one corner, we have the undisputed champion, Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, the god of 1,000 forms, a direct descendant of Azathoth. Guys, this is an entity with literal infinite power that overturns entire societies and speaks for the cosmic outer gods with an infinite win-loss ratio. And the challenger? Siren Head? Essentially, a 40-foot telephone pole, a creepy internet cryptid who hangs out in the woods, makes funny sounds and lures hikers in by mimicking the voices of their loved ones. Watch out, right? It might shout incomprehensible numbers at you. Safe to say our forest cryptid is heavily outmatched here. So if we just threw these two into a ring and rang the bell, how long would it actually take? 0.002 milliseconds. Yup, that is exactly how long it would take for the Lovecraftian outer god to utterly obliterate our poor lanky telephone pole in a completely unedited no-rules fight. To really put that into perspective, the source analysis honestly describes it best. It's like comparing apples to Goku. You know, you might say a matchup is like comparing apples to oranges, or maybe apples to a fighter jet, but no. Apples to Goku is literally the only logical way to capture the sheer scale of this mismatch. As a baseline, it's just too easy. Honestly, it's boring. Siren Head takes a long nap, and if there happen to be other Siren Heads, well, they instantly go extinct. Which leads us to version 2.0, the patch notes. Just to give the cryptid even a mathematical chance to survive longer than an astronaut without a helmet, we've got to apply a massive volume of restraints. Let's methodically walk through these Nyarlathotep 2.0 restraints. First up, no insta-kills. He can't just inflict immediate madness on anyone who views his true form. Second, limited shapeshifting. He's got to stick to shifting into comprehensible objects, like plants, animals, or assorted man-made items. Third, strictly 3D dimension travel. If he accesses higher dimensions, the lanky lad completely loses all ability to fight back. And finally, no outside outer god help. No bringing in the old ones to assist with the heavy lifting. But hey, we can't just nerf the champion, right? We need to massively buff the challenger too. The buff? An army of 20. Based on reports of different shaped entities spread across North America, we're actually letting them congregate. A whole battalion of 20 North American Siren Heads teaming up just to provide a massive numbers advantage. Next, we need a brand new victory parameter. Traditional fighting to the death just isn't going to work here. We're turning this into a survival hunt. Picture this. We put both parties at opposite ends of a national park, a familiar environment perfectly adapted for Siren Head's camouflage, and we set a strict 1-hour timer. If even one single Siren Head is left standing when that timer hits 0, they officially win. So, let's get into it. The forest hunt. As this survival run kicks off, I gotta point out a major, absolutely terrifying factor here. Nyarlathotep's physical powers are restricted, sure, but he remains just as cunning, manipulative, and absolutely terrifying as ever. Which brings up a critical question. Does a sentient speaker pole actually have human-like intelligence? The source points out a massive intelligence mismatch here. I mean, sure, Siren Head seems like a predator with a killer instinct, using a victim's info and dinner music to lure them in. But true sapience? Probably not. It's really just a supernatural force playing back echoes of things people have said. And because of that massive intelligence gap, the outer god can just effortlessly execute a methodical trap. Check this out. First, he shapeshifts into a normal human. Second, he pretends to be eaten, crying out to draw them in. Third, once those hungry loudspeakers get close enough, boom, he transforms into a bomb, construction equipment, or some other devastating killing machine. And finally, step 4, he just effortlessly decimates the lured Siren Heads. The immediate aftermath of that trap is just devastating. A full 50% of the Siren Head battalion is destroyed immediately by that initial strategy. That leaves the other 50% hiding in fear, completely terrified. We are down to just 10 remaining cryptids, and we still have 55 long minutes left on the clock. The outer god starts roaming the woods, methodically culling each tree-shaped creature like a lumberjack in a forest glade, just knocking down anything that looks like a tall resource. And that brings us to a technical victory. I know, it looks completely hopeless for the internet cryptids at this point, but here is the ultimate twist. You cannot maximize cruel enjoyment in just 1 hour. The psychological logic here is actually fascinating. Nyarlathotep wouldn't just quickly wipe them all out. He'd want to learn what hurts them, what scares them. He vastly prefers to bask in the glory of hysteria. If he kills them all quickly, he dooms the species to extinction, and honestly, that completely ruins his fun. There's just no way he can maximize his full cruel enjoyment in just 60 minutes. Which brings us to a technical victory. What is that? Well, it's winning strictly because your omnipotent opponent wants to subject you to an eternity of immeasurable agony instead. It's an incredibly ironic punchline, isn't it? It's kind of like a hunter making sure not to overhunt a population. The outer god deliberately spares a couple of Siren Heads just so he can enjoy their eternal aching later. And because of this, Siren Head technically survives the hour, securing a very dark, very twisted victory. But hey, before we celebrate too much, we're grounded right back in reality here. No referees can control an outer god. The second that 1 hour timer is up, those silly patch notes and rules, they completely disappear. The brutal reality of the source material is that without wildly powerful, reality-bending referees working day and night to keep things completely fair, Siren Head is always, fundamentally, doomed to rest in peace. All right, let's wrap this up with some post-match commentary. Let's see how the community reacted to this bout. User Tori Wicks sums it up perfectly, saying, "Siren Head exists? America, I think not." It brilliantly highlights those fun, conspiratorial jokes audiences immediately jump to. I mean, if a giant 40-foot cryptid is actually roaming around North America, obviously it requires massive government cover-ups or secret military operations to keep it quiet, right? And then user Jono makes this incredibly accurate observation. Dangerous creature exists, people, let's worship it. This brilliantly illustrates human nature. Whenever we're faced with incomprehensible monsters or incredibly dangerous entities that defy all of our understanding, our collective reaction across history is somehow always to just start worshiping it. It's wild, but it's true. So exploring these mismatched bouts actually helps us understand logic, power scaling, and even a little bit of our own quirky human psychology. Which leaves me with this final provocative thought for you to ponder. What impossible rules would you impose to make an unfair fight completely even? Try taking this analytical patch notes framework and applying it to your own hypothetical scenarios. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.